This video is a bit of a sequel of another one. Obama sends Fox News to the bunker. The context is Fox News' coverage of President Obama's question-answer session during his visit with House Republicans at the retreat in Baltimore. Here we have another prime example of Fox News' post-debate coverage I ripped from their website. Add Republican John Barrasso to the long list of conservatives Fox News has featured to mop up the mess. Like other clips I've witnessed, once again Fox News surgically slices out the bits from the question-answer session to ignore uncomfortable truths. This is yet another case where all Fox News does is show brief clips of Republicans asking questions, joined with snippets to make President Obama appear skittish in answering. No need to bother with the president's responses, since it makes it that much more difficult to convince their audience of the triumph of right-wing politics. Especially considering in full context, the event was just the opposite. A very confident president largely schooling the Republicans on the many holes in their stale talking points. Here, John Barrasso, in typical Fox News fashion, is accorded opportunities usually denied the other side. He's asked easy questions and allowed uninterrupted to run through his list of talking points as if the question-answer session never occurred.
Well, in his State of the Union speech this week, President Obama called jobs the #1 focus for this year. Later on, he urged lawmakers to keep on trying for an agreement on health care. But is there bipartisanship on either issue? Is it really possible?
But they've really been stiff-armed by Speaker Pelosi.
Maybe it's the House Democrat leadership that is an impediment instead of a conduit.
And I understand that we're not interested in debating this bill, but what should we tell our constituents?
Problem is, we can't even get a vote on the proposal.
You stood up before the American people multiple times and said you would broadcast the health care debates on C-SPAN. You didn't.
Well, that was the tone that Mr. Obama faced at the GOP House retreat on Friday. But it's not just the House. There's major disagreement in the Senate as well. Joining us now, Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, to talk with us live about the issue. Senator, thank you for coming in.
Great to be with you. Thank you, Shannon.
Well, let's start with the issue of bipartisanship. We hear the president open that door repeatedly, and yet a number of Republicans on the Hill say it is only slammed shut in their face. Is that accurate?
Oh, I think it is accurate. You know, there are two doctors who are also senators, Tom Coburn and me. I practiced orthopedic surgeon for 25 years in Casper, Wyoming. The president hasn't asked our opinion because he had his 60 votes, so we thought, so he ignored us. And we have a lot of ideas that I think will help bring down the cost of care. In the State of the Union, he said, you know, take another look at my proposal. The American people have looked at that proposal, have rejected it. Fewer than 1 in 3 Americans support it. It's time to start over, take a step-by-step attempt to make sure that we can go and focus on cost of care, quality of care, coverage for more people. But there are a lot of good ideas that the president has rejected up until now.
Well, and we've heard repeatedly that Republicans don't have any ideas, that they're just coming to be obstructionists with the ideas that are in play. And yet, as evidenced by that House discussion or with House GOP that the president kindly attended and had a discussion with them in Baltimore, they do have a number of proposals out there, but they say they just can't get them anywhere.
Well, that's exactly right.
What absolutely floors me is how the anchor here mentions the question-answer session, but deliberately ignores the president's responses, which directly address the question she's asking of her Republican pal. So to set the record straight, I'm going to show you what Fox News hopes to keep their audience ignorant of. Here's the president's response Fox News doesn't want you to hear.
Mr. President, and thank you for acknowledging that we have ideas on health care, because indeed we do have ideas, we have plans, we have over 50 bills, we have lots of amendments that would bring health care ideas to the forefront. We've got plans to lower costs, to change purchasing models, address medical liability, insurance accountability, chronic and pre-existing conditions, and access to affordable care for those with those conditions. Insurance portability, expanded access, but not doing it with creating more government, more bureaucracy, and more cost for the American taxpayer. And we look forward to sharing those ideas with you. We want to work with you on health reform.
Actually, I've gotten many of your ideas. I've taken a look at them, even before I was handed this. Some of the ideas we have embraced and are in our package. Some of them are embraced with caveats at its core. If you look at the basic proposal that we put forward, that has an exchange so that businesses and The self-employed can buy into a pool and can get bargaining power the same way big companies do. The insurance reforms that I've already discussed, making sure that there's choice and competition for those who don't have health insurance. The component parts of this thing are pretty similar to what Howard Baker, Bob Dole, and Tom Daschle proposed at the beginning of this debate last year. Now, you may not agree with Bob Dole and Howard Baker, and certainly you don't agree with Tom Daschle on much, but that's not a radical bunch. But if you were to listen to the debate, and frankly how some of you went after this bill, you'd think that this thing was some Bolshevik plot. No, I mean that's how you guys presented it. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, how is it that a plan that is pretty centrist? No, look. I mean, I'm just saying. I know you guys disagree, but if you look at the facts of this bill, most independent observers would say this is actually what many Republicans, it is similar to what many Republicans proposed to Bill Clinton when he was doing his debate on health care. So all I'm saying is we've got to close the gap a little bit between the rhetoric and the reality.
The President's proposal calls for cutting Medicare by $500 billion, raising taxes another $500 billion, forcing the states in a huge unfunded mandate upon them. And for people that have insurance, that have what they like, their premiums are going to go up if the President's proposal is passed. And that's why so many people across the country said, get rid of that, take it off the table, let's start anew, let's get real health care reform that brings down the cost of care.
Now, when you hear from folks like the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the top Democrat there, say, I'm not really concerned about the process, we just want to get it done, does that work for you?
Well, she actually said, I think about a week and a half ago, and I don't care what we pass as long as we pass something. And I'm much more focused on making sure we get it right than getting it done fast. It affects every person in America. Health care is such a personal thing, Shannon, and it's 1/6 of our economy. The government doesn't do the big things really well. We need to take a step-by-step approach. It's time to start over and focus on getting down the cost of care. That's what so many Americans are concerned about, the cost of the medical care. We need to do health care reform. There are ways to do it right. We need to start over in a step-by-step process. Let people buy insurance across state lines. 12 million more would be able to get insurance. Of course, the President, when he was in the Senate, voted against that. Let people who buy their insurance personally get a tax write-off, the same ones that the big companies get. Of course, when the President was in the Senate, he voted against that. Let small businesses group together and be able to bargain more effectively that way. Of course, when the President was in the Senate, he voted against that. So the things that we know work, that are good ideas, that the American people keep talking about, those are the things that the President opposed.
Representative Barrasso is allowed to run through a long list of talking points that don't pass the smell test, but this one I knew to be false right off the bat. The entire Republican plan, which includes portability, does not raise the ranks of the insured by 12 million. If you want the truth about how many more Americans are insured by the Republican plan, go to the Congressional Budget Office's analysis of their plan. According to the CBO, by 2019, the ranks of the insured would only increase by 3 million, leaving roughly the same percentage of non-elderly uninsured as there are today. In other words, it just keeps up with population growth. I encourage you to pause the video here to write down this link so you can get the straight facts.